Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tokuskai Inside Look podcast, where I share inspiring stories of Budoka around the world. Please share your favorite episodes with your dojo and community so this effort can be spread to more corners of the earth. This episode is brought to you by our amazing patrons over at Patreon. By donating as little as a cup of coffee to a bowl of ramen, they've directly made this podcast possible. If you're enjoying this work and can spare a small tip each month, it would mean a lot to me. You can find it at www.patreon.com/Tokuskai Canada. Thanks in advance for your support. And now, on to the interview.
So, first of all, thank you for having me here. It's a great honor. So, Café Geiko is an interview program that started during the pandemic with the objective of it was to unite people in Latin America mostly, because we tend to see each other once a year in the CLAC, the Latin American Kendo Championship, and the pandemic just didn't allow that. So that's a bit how it started, to bring the Kendo Latin American Kendo community together. So at first, it was when we started, the idea was to have a number, the guests, talk a bit, and to have a space that was relaxed. That's why it came with the name Café Geiko, because café is coffee in Spanish. Colombia is it's very well known for its coffee, by the way. So. And the Geiko part, it would be we adapted the name Biru Geiko, that how you're relaxed after training, and you can talk about mainly anything, and that's when you actually start asking things. And we also we don't only talk about technique or maybe training and all that. We really want to see the beginnings of people, what have they done during their Kendo life. It's really focused on Kendo. The only sessions that we have, it's Kendo. As for now, we have 6 seasons. Season 6 ends next week, because there's the last session is pre-recorded, since we did it in German, and I am currently finishing all the subtitles and all the other details to publish it on Wednesday. And that's when Café Geiko, last session of the 6th season, will finish. Yeah.
How many episodes per season do you have?
So let's see, the first 2 seasons we did, the first season was a pilot season. It wasn't a pilot episode, it was a pilot season, but we were surprised by the response from the people. So we were okay, this is pretty cool. So the first season had 5 episodes. So, and at the beginning we had the support of the Japan Center. It's a branch of the Japanese embassy that's linked with the University of the Andes here in Bogota. And then for the 2nd season, they told us that they couldn't support us with the part of the organizing, since they had other things aside from culture that they wanted to present in and show at the Japan Center. And we did a month of, we did 8 projects with them, because we did Café Geiko's first season, and as well a conference with 5 Colombian sensei. So it was the same week, 2 shows. So after that, they told us, okay, you need to, we can do 1 season with you. We can do 4 episodes per semester. I clearly was not happy with that. More than happy, I wanted more. like they still help us with like with the publicity and all of that. They always tell us like, if you have it, send it to us, and I'll help you with that. So second season onward, I started using this program called StreamYard. I was helped by some friends from Ecuador that they also have done like this sort of interview. They did of their national sensei, and they did with some Latin American sensei, and like their how do you say this, like and one of the pioneer sensei from Japan that like helped Ecuador, like, and helped create the foundations for what a Kendo in Ecuador is right now. So they helped me with that, and season 2 was basically starting to know like StreamYard and then doing everything there. And first and second season were 5 episodes long, but from the third season to the sixth season, there have been like 4 episodes per season. Yeah.
So we talked about so far like how we do these on our own as like interviewers. We have to set up all the equipment and stuff. What were you getting help from in terms of the Japan Center? Like what, and how did you go about getting that help? Did you just go up to them and say, "Hey, I have this idea. I need this, this, and this"? But what was the inception of this?
So we. Funny that you asked. Like I saw a picture not so long ago that like we were in a Zoom meeting, and we were like some like Colombian Kendo sensei and the coordinator of the Japan Center, and we had the meeting like Kendo Uniandes. It's a Kendo, like a university Kendo group. As I said, the Japan Center is like annexed to the University of the Andes. So we've always had like a strong connection with them. So like we wanted to do a project with them. I really can't recall if they told us to do the project or it was the other way around. But I think we wanted to do a project because to unite people, because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. Like Café Geiko is over a year now. Like we started in April, or like I think we started thinking about the project around April, and then the first season was in May and finished on June 5th. So they helped us with the registration. They helped us with the platform. They helped us mostly organizing everything, the publicity. Like we had to send them the information or the picture and the pictures. But aside from that, they helped us with a lot of things, and they helped us like with then they sent us like the recordings and all that. So starting to do this on my own, like I noticed, wow, it's a lot of work. And in the Japan Center, we had 2 people helping us. And then we had 2 people helping us like with the publicity and the registration. Then the coordinator was always there to help as well. We were 3 people from Café Geiko, so from Kendo Uniandes, that were there. And then we had the support, we had his support for like the first 4 seasons of Sensei Ariel Pintos, and when he helped us with getting in touch with the first guests and so on, and how to take the conversation, but then like for like work reasons, he didn't like to have the time, so. There was a point when we cut off, like when the Japan Center said, we cannot help you since we cannot make 15 episodes a semester, we can help you with like publicity and all. I said, okay, let's go with this. And like that semester we made 19 episodes basically. And I think I answered your question. I'm not sure if I did.
I was just wondering, like you have these set up as seasons, and you have these guests, and then you talk about publicity and registration. As far as I was aware, it's like these conversations between you and a guest. What is the publicity and registration for? Is it for like people to find out about it after it's been published? Is it, do you have like audience that's listening in while you're conducting the interview?
Yeah, we all the interviews, even the ones that, like for example, the one I mentioned that I mentioned that's in German, it's always live. We always do the sessions live. The first season we used the WebEx platform, but then from that moment on, we've always used StreamYard. It's been super easy to get in. You don't need to download an app. You need to just have the link and get into YouTube and you'll watch it live. So like the registration, I like doing like the registration because I think of it sometimes like if it would be sort of like a seminar, to put it like that. It's not a seminar, just to be clear, but like if you want to be able to ask the questions live, you need to take less than a minute of your time to answer a small survey, like where you put, well, your name, the country you're in, your age. How did you find out if it's the first time that you're in one of those events? Because I personally really like to know all that information, to know the reach of the project, to be able to measure like the growth that it's had. And the publicity, we tend to like, when Café Geiko is about to start, like Monday of the first week of the first session, we do the sessions when the season starts every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Well, Colombian time. So I publish in the first season, in the first week, like on a Monday. I just put like, we're gonna have Café Geiko start this week. Well, be ready for knowing who the first guest is gonna be. So I tend to Wednesdays, I tend to like reveal the guest, and the good thing is that Monday, all the Mondays I have a meeting with the guest to like, if it's the case that we don't know each other, like in the Latin American cases, which have been most of the cases, like we don't always tend to know each other, but well, since we're Latin American, like people here tend to be very open, meeting new things. They're always super excited to help each other. So well, sometimes it's like you meet people and it seems like you've met them for a long time, even though it's like the first time. So it's great. And I send the registration link to all the guests that we've had. I publish them I send them through some WhatsApp groups, Kendo WhatsApp groups. And finally, I publish them, like the message and all that, with the name, the day, and the hour and the time on the Kendo Facebook group that we have. It's called a Café Geiko for Kendo. And then next week, so registration is basically for, okay, you took 30 seconds of your day, you can connect like if you want, and if you can't, you'll still have the link before the other people because I don't make them public the Friday. So the session is done, it's broadcasted, and everything on a Friday, and then Monday I make it public. So if you registered, even though you weren't able to, for any motive, you weren't able to be in the live session, you can always watch it before everyone else. Yeah.
So you have probably questions of your own that you want to ask your guests, and then when others, like audiences, wants to submit their questions, then you read from the list that you have from the registration.
So there, we don't have questions, like a question space in the registration, but like in the comment section of the video. So since there's a live broadcast and the chat is live as well. So what we do is, yeah, we have a sort of, I look to have like a sort of structure. The first meeting that we have on the like Mondays of the week of the session, we usually, yeah, get to know each other, like talk a bit, explain the project. If they have any questions, that like answer their questions, and then like give a bit of a structure to the talk. Like, for example, with the last session that we had was with Zhao Sensei she's Canadian, but she's lived in San Diego for a great number of years, and she's a sensei in the San Diego Kendo. And I really like knowing like the people's like origin story. Like I really want to know how people started Kendo. Like, how do you end up finding out what Kendo is and practicing? So we have, and then we structure it, but I always stress that it's not like a script. It's not to follow it precisely. Like we cannot like go out of script. I always tell them like there's no time limit. Like we've had sessions. Well, in the first season we had a session that lasted nearly 3 hours. It was surprising, and but then the longest ones of these past 3 seasons have been like nearly 2 hours to 2.5 hours. So we have the questions, and then after we finish like the Café Geiko session per se, I tell people in the beginning of the session, and at that moment, that we're gonna have a quick space for questions. So write them down in the comments, and people always also tend to ask while the session is going. So like not when I say, but like we're talking about a certain topic, and what happened. So they had a question, and so okay, I have let's say StreamYard is, I have the screen here, the guest and I are here, and then here's the live comment section. So I'm like, okay, oh, there's a question there, perfect. Then I just click on it when we have like this, it's the moment to answer the questions, and the question just pops up on the screen. I read it out loud, and the guest gives their answer. Yeah, so it's the good thing is that well, it's great, and it's also a bit scary because you don't know what turn it's going to take during the conversation, because we might be talking about something and then boom, there's some great anecdote, and then we jump to another topic it wasn't even planned. But that's also the good part. Like people feel like looking for the people to feel very comfortable during the sessions, so they just can like share freely, like with it. Like if you're having a conversation over coffee with a longtime friend.
Yeah, it's so interesting because like on the surface, you hear something like Café Geiko, you go to the videos and you see, oh, it's you interviewing someone else. It seems very similar to the podcast that I do, where it's like 2 people interviewing, but like the whole setup behind the scenes is so different in that, like, for example, yours is always on the same time, same day. There's audience members, they can submit questions. Yeah, and then because it's live and it's through like one of these streaming programs, you just have to click a button, and then after it'll get published online like afterwards. And because it's live too, that like the guests, it seems like they're okay with just whatever. Whereas for mine, they're all pre-recorded and they're all at different times because it's whatever is free. It's one-on-one, and then I have it edited. Like I hired a freelancer from Upwork to do it for me, because like if you had to edit, you would realize that like an hour of interview would take about 3 hours almost of actually looking through, listening. Is there anything I have to change, sound quality, and all that stuff? So then after that, then I send it to the interviewee, the person I interviewed, and let them review it first. And only when they say everything is good, then it's published, which means that sometimes they come back and say, well, I don't like this part. Can you remove it? Then I have to go back to the editor, say, okay, this is the timestamp. These are the words. Get rid of it. Send it back, get them to review, and then publish. And there's occasionally be times where I've conducted the interview, sent it, and each one of these edits cost money. So I have to like pay the person a small amount. And then comes back, the person reviews and they say, well, I'm not really happy with it, so I'd rather you not publish, which has happened a few times. So I've had to spend some money with where it doesn't go. But overall, I think people have been very generous in being able to like open to sharing what they have. And then, so that's the difference, but the similarity is the same. We want to understand what makes people tick, why they got into these arts, and we want the conversations to go in whatever way that naturally flows. We don't want to be too overly structured, because then it becomes more of a like a boring interview rather than a conversation. So that's interesting, like how and the fact that you schedule it so like the participants could be different every week depending on the guest too. So you have like questions coming from all over the place.
Yeah, totally. So, for example, in the last 3 seasons, we've had the first. I started doing the English sessions. That's something I really like. I never get the chance to speak in English. I enjoy a lot being able to speak English, and if I could do it with other people about a subject that I like a lot, like Kendo, so that's just great. And so, for example, we've had questions from like when Eddie Devi Sensei, we had him on season 5 of Café Geiko. Like we had questions from Canada. We had questions from, for example, Takeshi Takamori Sensei from FIC, from the International Kendo Federation. And we had questions from Ecuador. I think we had questions from Colombia. Like, it's so interesting to see like all the questions that there can be like from different parts of the world. And that's also part of the registration. Like when I see something that I don't expect, for example, okay, I'm sitting there. I'm looking through the names. Okay, perfect number of people. This percentage knows, this one doesn't. So, like when I've had when I've seen like people that are, I don't know, from Japan, for example. Like if I see someone from Japan, I'm like, okay, I did not expect that, because all the sessions are mostly in Spanish. So I don't think there are a lot of Spanish speaking Japanese people that I know of. So, and like outside of a Spanish speaking country. But then like we see people, how everything's connected. Like we did a session for in season 3 with a Spanish sensei. And for example, a Canadian sensei, like Makikora sensei, she's 6th dan. She registered because she had met her from the Kitamoto seminar. So, and there were people from Canada, there were people from Italy, there were people from Spain, I think from Portugal. So from all over Latin America. And it was, I think that's our most viewed interview, if I'm not wrong. And that's just amazing to see how people like the reach and like that people are interested. And then I also have, I'm surprised, even if it's one more person, when it says, have you ever been, in one of the questions is, in the registration is, have you ever been to a Café Geiko session before? And if they put no, like there's a circle, because I do it in Google Forms. So like, even if it's one person out of 30, or it sometimes can be over half of the people. So that always makes me very happy to see like it's a way that I can see, okay, we're getting to more people. It's not always the same. So there are always more questions that there can be, or like other ways of seeing the topic, maybe that probably I don't see them in that way, because even though it's without a structure, like without a precise script, like I tend, yeah, to move through by various topics, and there's some questions that I do them both for that I'm very interested in, but also that I think that it can be very relevant information, and it can help various people. For example, this session we had, well, this season we had a session with a sensei from Chile, the sensei Ignacio Bonta, and he had to stop for 6 years training because of how much he needed to focus on his career. And then he came back, and all his other friends were like, the gap between him and his friends, he felt it was huge. But as years went by well, his effort, his own efforts, the help of his friends, and then, well, who became his teammates in the Chilean national kendo team, helped him will grow. And then for example, in 2019, in the last Latin American Championship, he was able to reach the podium. Like he got third place in the individual category. So I wanted to know, like, what mindset were you looking for? Like, you stopped training for 6 years. Like, basically, he told me, I can count with the fingers of my hand the amount of times I trained during the 6 years trained kendo specifically. So, okay, 6 years off of kendo, and then, like, what mental process? Because even though probably people didn't stop, they didn't, for example, in that championship, maybe they didn't reach like at the same place that he got. But, well, competitions are always, you never know what's going to happen, but your mind needs to be prepared to endure anything that's going to happen. So, like, seeing that aspect, I really enjoy it. And I know of various people that sometimes have to stop doing kendo, not because of studies only, but work, like personal reasons, maybe family. So it's like day-to-day things that, or like life things that can happen to any of us. And sometimes, like, we don't know how to handle them or what we can do, like the possibilities. And then we see that there are people that will give it their all, and how they do it. And that, like, if you want something and you give it your all, well, that's the way to achieving it. So, like, finding these topics, these relations with people, like, yeah, I think, I don't know if that was like relation. My Spanish is popping up in my head, but I don't need my Spanish right now. So, yeah, linking the experiences between the guest and maybe people who watch this at live, or maybe for months from now. So, like, oh no, I'm a student. I'm working part-time. I'm studying all the time. I'm studying full-time. I don't have time to train. Like, physically, and for like my mental health, I need some space, like, to maybe rest. And let's see, no, I can't train right now. And so maybe a month goes by, 6 months go by, a year go by, 2 years go by, and sometimes they don't know how to come back to kendo. And then, like, if they see that a person could, and how they did, and like the mental efforts, physical efforts, and, well, all the efforts that they put into it, they see, wow, it's possible. Like, then if like, anyone can do it. That's the important thing. But sometimes you don't know how to start doing it or how to start. So, yeah, like, talking this about this, like, Kendo topics, but Kendo, like the life in and outside of Kendo, because I feel that whatever we study, whatever like we do for a living, the personal experiences that we have really affect how we develop in a martial art, and then a martial art, well, in my case, Kendo, and how it affects Kendo and how Kendo affects your life. So I feel that it's always a positive. It's like a positive relation. So yeah,
Well, I'm thinking about when we talk about these skills that you can apply from Kendo to the rest of your life and vice versa. You always think, well, these days, especially in this conversation, we're talking about starting something like our podcast or interview sessions. And probably at the very beginning, when you did your pilot in first season, there was no clear indication. Like you weren't sure that, oh, I'm going to get to season 6 like a whole year from now. What do you think about either your personality, your skills, your experiences in Kendo and outside that you think has allowed you to be able to make something of this that's more than just a one-off and then it fades away?
So like the first season, like we had no idea what we were getting into, like definitely. So like being on a like sort of an interview, like one-on-one, like even though the first season we usually had like a guest, and between 3, like 2 and 4 people that were asking the guest, like we were in the conversation and the video. So well, we had like that sort of like support between each other. And also at the beginning, Ariel Pinto sensei, he always also like helped us also guide the conversations. Like, okay, so, and sometimes like we got stuck in it because we didn't know how to like start a conversation. Well, we did, but we weren't used to doing it while being recorded, being live. Like know that people from all over Latin America are watching now, various parts of the world. So that was like a start, like starting to get comfortable while recording this. Like now, like to this point, I'm now, since the end of season 4, I've been like the main we call it, like I do the questions and all that. I lead the interview. So since mid season 4, and then we've had like, well, Sensei Alvaro Gonzalez. He's Colombian. He lives in Germany, so he's the one that's helped me with doing the sessions fully in German. So that's something I really like. So that goes back to making the guest as comfortable as they can. So if you're speaking in their mother language, like in their native language, they tend to, like, you can express yourself a bit more freely, or be more comfortable. So I really enjoy that. And well, as having it in being in German, it can get to a new public, to put it that way, and that's like the German Kendo world, for example. So yeah, at the beginning, didn't know how it's gonna happen. I didn't know how long the project was gonna take, and well, how long it was gonna last. But as time went by, I really wanted to keep doing it, keep doing it, because as I told you, we were 3 people from Kendo Uniandes that were doing this project. Like we were in the interviews, but then we were like, okay, we need to focus our efforts. Like we want to do various things. So who's gonna be in charge of what? And I took a step and said, no, I want to continue doing Café Geiko. And then, well, season 2 was it finished in the end of, season 2 finished at the end of July. Season 3 was it finished on October season 4 finished on December, so I was doing like Café Geiko during the semester. And then season 5 finished on February, and season 6, and then we'll finish, next week. So like we never, at the beginning, it's uncharted territory. You don't know what's going to happen because it's also something that you're not used to. In my case, yeah. Speaking in public, it's not that hard, but like being listening, and you're like, okay, when you're organizing everything, and mainly because it's live, it's like, what if the connection goes down? What if like there's a problem with their computer? What if there's a problem with my computer? Like we've had sessions. I remember one in the second season. I think it was the first session that I was just sitting there, and then like I couldn't see the images of the guests, and I was like, okay, I'm this close to starting like to freak out. So then I asked a friend that he was helping me at the moment, asking me, is the interview still going normally? He said, yes. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna stay still, smile until I can see them again. So again, that was a problem with my Wi-Fi. So you never know what's going to happen, and well, as time goes by, you see that like anything can happen. And in a sort of way, you get more comfortable with doing the sessions. It might get cut off in the middle of something. So you never know. You have to be sort of ready for anything. We've had a bit of everything during the sessions. Problem with the guest internet, with our internet, and then just looking to do more programs, getting to meet new people from different countries. We've had from all over Latin America, Ecuador. We've had from Brazil, from Colombia, from Chile, from Argentina, from Peru, from Mexico, from Canada, like Canada / Trinidad and Tobago. That's Eddie. From like Canada / the US, from Spain, from Germany. So like the reach that this is getting, and I'm like, I want it to grow. I want the project to grow more. I want to do more. So yeah, I never know. And I realized when I was doing the 6th season, I think it was before it started, or like first week, I was like, oh, it's been a year. I can't believe that. I can't believe we've been doing this for over a year. Wow.
I think what you just hit on about wanting to do more, wanting to meet new people and get to more countries, I think that's a good perspective on putting how something like this can continue, because most people just think, well, you just have to do it again and then again, and it feels like a slog. It feels like there's just so much work and you just have to stick to it. But when we talk about this feeling, we don't feel like it's, oh, we're just going to work again. It's not like I'm going to, I don't know, construction, and I'm just putting another pile of bricks on, and then I'm coming back and doing the exact same thing. It's this motivation to do more and the excitement of trying something new that keeps this going. And that's what it sounds like is motivating you to keep this up after like a whole year.
Yeah, and how you said, even like it's not, even though it's at the same time, it tends to have the same structure. Every session is unique. So that's the great thing about it. And as you said, yeah, it can be a lot of, yeah, it's not like, okay, then you can do it again, then you can do it again. But like, since this is a project that I'm like, aside from the sessions that are in German, which get help both for, well, the session itself, I appear at the beginning and at the end. I don't appear in the rest of the video because I don't speak German, or I get a couple of words at most. So when we do the whole those in German, yeah, I have the support of Alvaro, who I mentioned before. since he was also like the point of contact with the German sensei. So aside from that, like I do the whole project basically on my own, like making the images for Café Geiko, or like getting like the image to publish every season. Since last season, like I've always had help. I got help from a friend for season 5, but season 6, aside from the German session, I do everything by myself. Like I get in touch with the guests, I set up the meetings, I set up the live, I have to set up the whole Café Geiko month, to put it that way. Because sometimes I have like, okay, I have the second session booked, I have the first session booked, and the fourth session, like I only have one date. I need the guest to be able to be like on this day in particular at this time, like they need to be free. But there have been times where we've moved the time of recording, like maybe to Saturday or Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning, depending where the guest is. Because we've had guests that are from Latin America, but that they live in Japan and that they work in Japan. So like they said, no, I can only, like I have time on a Sunday. So that's 14 hours ahead of us. So we're like, okay, if we start at 5:30 p.m. on a Saturday, that's going to be 7:30 a.m. in Japan. So perfect. So no, it's getting to do all these things, like if you're not motivated, then like if you don't want the project to keep going, then like nobody's making me do it. Like I'm doing it because I want to do it. Like the efforts I put are because I really like doing the project. Nobody thinks, oh, how cool is it gonna be to put subtitles on a 2.5-hour video of a language that you do not speak. Yeah, I don't think that's like the first thing people is gonna come into mind, like, oh yeah, let's do that for Friday night. No. So as you said, like if it's really something that you want to do, then you put the time, you'll put the effort, and aside from that, you'll always try to improve it. Like not only improve the program, improve how you are inside of the program as well. How are you able to get to more people, like people to know the program and all that? Like what guests are you gonna get? Maybe a Latin American guest, or for example, like in my case, Latin American guest that it's maybe not the highest downgrade, but they still, like, since in most of Latin America except Brazil, like kendo federations aren't as big. So like maybe there are in the whole federation less than 10 women. So how is it to be like one of the only women that's training in that federation? Like how did you start? Like when you started, were there more women? Like how have you seen the growth of the female kendo community in your country? So, well, seeing all of that and getting to do more subjects and more topics and more guests and everything. Yeah, if you like it, you'll give it your all. If you're motivated, if it's something you're passionate about, you'll give it your all. And that's, yeah, the way to, I think, not only keep a project going, but as you said, not letting it become like a sort of like a lose the conversation aspect and become strictly like I make the questions and you give me the answers. Like, and so to keep the program going as well as improving it with the quality of them. It's like always keep that same level of quality. Yeah.
I think it also shows that depending on the person, how it's structured can be different, and there's no one right way to do it. And so there's one side where, yes, you need to find the way that works for you. If part of this, I want to have this conversation is to, if other people are listening and they want to host their own podcast, or interviews, these type of thing, that they can. And then they realize that they don't have to choose one way of doing things because there's always going to be some kind of trade-off. So one thing that I can really think of is I chose not to stick to one specific time during the week and day and blah, 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 because it's easier to get to a global audience if I adjust the times. But it also makes it very hard on me on the aspect that I can only allocate like an hour, at most an hour and a half. And then it's either before school, before work, and I have to get my kid ready, or at night before getting to bed, or in the middle of the day when I have to do other stuff. So it's hard on that aspect. But on your side, like I wouldn't want to do it the other way because I see it very hard to be able to schedule someone to always come on the same time and also do registrations and also manage like other people joining and having to answer their questions. Like that's a different type of difficulty and thing that it's not that I can't do that you've been able to have success with. So I think that when someone looks at either doing it my way or doing it your way, or they can find a third way of doing it that fits for them, and knowing that, yeah, find a way that works for you so you can sustain it. But there's not going to be an easy way. There's always going to be work, and yeah. So you just have to make sure that the motivation is always higher than the feeling of stress from the work.
Yeah, I loved how you said it. Like, you can find your own way, but there's no easy way. There's no easy way to do it. Because yeah, I really like, for example, one of the reasons I also take the like structure it that way is because like the same time and everything. It's because I'm a full-time student as well. So so I need to study during the week. Thankfully, since it's everything online, or almost everything online, like I do not have to worry about like, okay, oh my God, I have 1 hour and a half to get to my house, and well, the bus ride is about 45 minutes. So then I have to get there. I have to publish everything. There have been times where even like, since I had to change locations because of the Wi-Fi had gone off, because I did not have a computer at the moment. So what I did was, okay, I need to be like sitting on the bus, publishing everything, like, okay, I'm making a post on Facebook about Café Geiko, and okay, I need to get there. I have 30 minutes. I need to like at least wash my face, like get everything set up. What I tend to do is that I have all the emails ready. I have like the list of, as I said, like for the people that are registered, you get like a Google Forms, and then you can get like an Excel spreadsheet out of that. So I just select all the emails. I have already the message. I have a document, a Google document that has basically all the like formats that I use. Then I just modify them. So like, thank you, good afternoon. It's a pleasure for Kendo Uniandes. It's a real honor to have you here with us. You'll be able to find the link below. Please do not share. And don't forget to ask your questions. So I have that in Spanish and in English. And I'm like, okay, copy, change. Okay, here it says third season. We're already in the fourth season. Yeah, third season. We're in the fourth season. Change that. But then, yeah, being able to schedule everything, it's a bit time consuming. It's the way that I didn't like choose to do it like this way from the beginning. It just, as the project kept on going, I just found out a rhythm within it. So I was like, okay, this works for me. It's quite stressful sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, because you're like, okay, it was 30 minutes to the program, sent all the emails, the guest is already in the room, people are already on the waiting, they were waiting, like in the YouTube link, they're already waiting for the session to start. Then I have like a second where I'm like, okay, now we can relax. And then there's like the stress within the session itself, like, okay, with the like what can happen, I'm gonna lose my internet. One time it happened like that. We were with Ariel Pintos, say, and the session started, his Wi-Fi went off. We were about to finish, my Wi-Fi went off after. So like he disappeared at the beginning of the session, and then I was, okay, we're gonna start. Then apparently his image just froze and he went out of there. I'm like, okay. Did not expect that. And then at the end of the session, like 10 minutes before like the questions, my wife, or 10 minutes before ending, my Wi-Fi just, or my computer just, like the system just failed for a second. And I'm like, okay, what's happening? Oh no, I need to get back in. What do I have to do? So yes, you said you need to find a way that adapts to your situation, like and making it work for you, for the guests, and for everyone. I really like it. I really like the live aspect of the conversation, because if I had to think about editing it, like editing, that would be another thing. And oh my god, I cannot.
I know. I did it for like the first 50, no, probably 70 episodes.
Oh,
I
wow.
did myself, and then it would just got too much, and I was losing. Like I just felt like I wouldn't be able to continue if I had to just do that. So that's why, like, even though I'm getting some Patreon money, it's not enough to cover the editing. I just like, I'm going to spend my own money because I want to keep having the conversations. So this is kind of me paying to have them. But I think one thing that you mentioned is very important, is that something is always going to go wrong with these, and it's when you experience it, it also gives you that understanding that, oh, I can still survive it, and this can still continue. So then next time you're a little more prepared for it. You still don't want it to happen, but at least it's not as big of a shock. For me, a couple of things have happened where I had to re-record because it was just, the connection was too bad. It was too choppy. So we said, hey, this is not working. Let's reschedule. And we did that. The worst was a couple of times where I didn't click record. And so we had a full conversation that went like super well. And then I had to ask them if we could do it again. And both times they were like very open to it. Luckily, I had taken enough notes that I could just have at least some part of the conversation bring back and say, hey, I remember you said this. Could you repeat pretty much that? And it went well, but it was like, okay, I have to try to not make that mistake again, even though it happened twice. Now I'm a little more prepared for that.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna happen. And yeah, it's not that you want it to happen, but since anything can go wrong, you're a bit like, at least you're on an emotional level, you're more ready for it to happen. So it's like, okay, the guest internet just, like, I cannot hear the guest. Okay, let's keep going. Like, that's not gonna end everything. Like, the conversation was great. So then there's the part when I have to figure out, like, what am I gonna speak a bit for myself, like ask questions directly, and like if the audience wants to like make the questions now, they can, or like mention like a topic for them to think about, as well as the person is like, the connection problem is getting fixed. So yeah, you really never know what's gonna happen. And yeah, we had once, for example, there was one session that we didn't record when we were using Cisco WebEx. It was, when we found out about that, we were like, oh my God, why? It was like a 2-hour long interview. Why didn't we record it? Like, and at the beginning of the session, I said like, okay, like, have we pressed record? They said yes. I'm like, great, we didn't. Marvelous. So, so we're always getting ready, and since you never know what's gonna happen, you start developing like, yeah, like the skills, or more than the skills, like sort of like that awareness. Like, it's not gonna be it's like a safe space. Like, you can, yeah, like, aside from the conversation, which is a safe space, you're not gonna be like the session, and like the stress, like it ends when the session ends. So when the season ends, so right from before you're getting everything ready, and that's where like the stress starts to build up. Then at the end, you're like, okay, for a season, like, for example, season 6 ready, 4 episodes down. Now I can relax a bit. Now I'm starting, but I'm like, but during the sixth season, season six, I'm already thinking about season seven. And then that's how I'm like, okay, I already have like, for example, right now I have already two guests in my mind, on my mind. And then I'm okay, I need to find two more people. Are they gonna say yes? Or are they gonna say no? What, like if they say no, what am I gonna do? So, so yeah.
I think you hit on one of the biggest points about being able to do something like this is that getting used to people saying no, or at least getting okay with people saying no. Because like, as much as most of the time, I think people are very open, but there are going to be times that someone either says no, like I don't feel up to it, or maybe they, in my case, like they record it and say, no, we had a good conversation, but I don't want to share it. And the way that I think about a lot of that is just, the first most important thing for me is to have a good conversation, and whether or not it gets published, that's a second goal. So I think I have multiple goals so that even if one or two of them don't work out, at least one of them does. So when it comes to asking people questions, one of the goal is to get them onto the podcast, is so I can interview them. The other goal is to just put in the reps so that if anyone says no, I felt it again. So I'm building up that kind of defense system so that, yeah, let's just keep sending out. I know in fact, sometimes I might even go out on a limb and say, I'm asking someone, kind of expecting them to say no, just so that I can have that experience. It's kind of like a feeling of putting yourself in a painful situation on purpose. But I think that builds up a lot of this resilience that allows us to be able to continue doing this work.
Yeah, as you said, like the community is very open on helping and making part of the projects. Like I think for how many episodes have we had? Like 20, 25, 26. From all the episodes and like from all the like 25 guests that we've had, I think for the sessions, like there were not a lot of people. There were, I think, at most 3 people that said that they said no, but not because they didn't want to, because they couldn't at the time. So it's like they want to help and they want to be there, but it's like it's not possible for them. So you're like, it helps you, as you said, like be more understanding as well. Like, okay, yeah, like people sometimes like, oh, everything is set up, but then like something pops up and I'm like, or like for the date or anything, and then you start learning that this has to be like, your process has to be more flexible. You have to be a more flexible person, because you're in like all regarding the dates and the times, because as I told you, like we do it live, so, and as well as you recorded, like sometimes there's different time zones. Japan 14 hours, Europe, depending on the country and the time of the year, is 6 or 7 hours, maybe 8 hours. So you start like noticing like, okay, I have to adapt. So you need to, that's something I really liked about this project, like being, you might have everything planned out to the last detail, then that plan doesn't work anymore. So you have to change it. You're like, okay, I need to change this, maybe that, maybe you have to change the whole plan. So all these sorts of projects help you get the tools to like, yeah, like as you said, like if they say no, and people like speaking from the Kendo community, and I assume the whole Budo community as well, they're very kind, like they're very respectful. So if they say no, they always like say in the most respectful way. They usually explain why not, or like, oh, thank you very much, but like at this time it's not possible for me. So, and like since you're also getting their support, because like they've been on the sessions, or they, I don't know, and they do want to be there, you're like, okay, then I always tell them that I'd love to have them on a future season, because if they said no, it doesn't mean that, oh, okay, you're not gonna be in the program. I'm like, no, then we'll just, It might be, I don't know how many seasons Cafe Geiko is gonna have, but I hope many more. I'm thinking about season 7 already, but let's see if we get to at least up to season 10. I don't know. But yeah, you never, I never like, I don't like closing that door. Like it's always open. Like there's a season, and I love, and since you couldn't 6 months ago, like could you, like can you now? Like I'm always like open to asking again. And well, yeah, because that might be, as I said, each session tends to happen at the same time. There are like the sessions are on 1 month. It's 4 sessions right after the other, one right after the other. And then there's like a moment where I'm relaxing for like a week or a bit more, focusing more on other Kendo aspects and other like academic aspects of my career. So from all that, I'm like, okay, then let's see what we're gonna do. And yeah, it's been quite the experience. I wouldn't change it for anything. Like all the sleepless nights, there have been some sleepless nights, mostly with the subtitle thing that I did not expect that to be as like to do a good job. Well, I did not expect it to be that time consuming, but then taking into account that I don't speak the language, it's a bit more complicated. So
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when they see something like this and they think about, oh, what it would take to create a podcast or an interview session like regularly and post it, that the publishing exact is pretty much the effort, like the work and getting it out there. Just like when you talk about our practice, our Budo practice, there's the intellectual thinking about what we have to do. There's reading, there's listening to other people talking, but it's going to the dojo and practicing and getting those reps in and working. That's what matters. And in cases like these, sure, the conversations are great, and having these seminars where other people can ask questions are great, but then getting it out there and having a record, and over time you can look back at it and say, I accomplished all of this. Like you could have just done it. And we have these conversations all the time. We have second dojos, like, or Biru Keiko after every practice, or as much as we can, but none of that is recorded anywhere. So it kind of gets lost, and a lot of people don't have access and lose out on that. But also, this is something you can point to as something you created. And I think that for you, since you're in school, and then when you get out into the workforce, this will be a clear indicator for any person hiring someone like you, that this is someone that can stick to it, is committed, can actually create something, and is constantly improving on it. And that's a super valuable skill. Like, as much as you can get super high marks in your class, I think this will be one of the things that will make like employers look at this person and say, hey, I want to hire Santiago because of this. And I'm saying that as someone that has hired people before, and also someone that I recently got a new job. And I think that doing all my work here has been a big thing, because I can just say, hey, here's my resume from all the work that I've done, and I can talk as much, but here, go to my YouTube channel and you can watch the videos and see how I'm doing it in person, like an action, it's all recorded. So that's a huge thing that I think that, yeah, keep it up, definitely. And then having this goal, like your goal is right now kind of 10 seasons, but it could be more than that. Same with me. When I first started, it was just like, okay, let's just do the next one. And once I maybe had about 12 or so down, once I got into double digits, I said, okay, I'm going to do 100. And right now it's still 100 is the goal for the main podcast. I probably already published like up to 100 episodes of just like the special episodes and the stuff. But like right now, I'm just going to say, let's get to 100 and then see where it goes, and always leave the door open for more.
Yeah, for example, as you were saying, like the mindset that you get into when you're doing these sort of projects, like the effort, the scheduling, everything, that like how organized you're going to be, it really helps, as you were saying it. And like, I think the way I do it, by the way, helps my career as well. I'm a music student. So like when I have to do, like if I have to do, I'm a lyrical singer, and like if I have to do a project with like a couple of friends or like a rehearsal. So okay, when can, like what time can you be there? Like oh, you can't be the whole time. Okay, let's see how we can set this up. So I think that allows us like to take the, not only that everything we've learned from outside, it goes to the podcast, but the other way around. Like we develop a skill like to be um, more organized, or, and like for example, I've never, I think before this, I never wrote in such a formal way via email or via anything. I just, but now, well, I sat down, I have the structures. I like when people get invited to Café Geiko and I contact them for the first time, and they say yes, I get like a couple of their, how do you say this? Like, oh my God, like of their, not data, it's of their information. And I'm like, okay. And then I have a letter that's like the official invitation to Café Geiko. So it has like the logo and like everything on the top, on the top right corner. And yeah, like if I have to organize music, like a rehearsal for a choir piece, for example, let's see, then let's see, we're gonna do like if it's a quartet, like only for people. When can these people be? When can these other not? And can I always be there? Is there like a time when I can't, but the other three can? So yeah, we start like developing also these tools that we can use in our daily life. And since music, something that I really like about it, that is live. So it's, I get on stage and it ends when I get off stage. So it's the same, like, and there's no like comfortable way of doing that. So you have to get in a certain way like comfortable with being nervous to being ready to act if anything happens. Like if you forget part of the lyrics of a piece, if it's maybe aside from another language, it's, I don't know, an 8-minute piece, music piece. So if you forget a line, you have to like, okay, I can't stop. This hasn't ended. Like when the music ends, when I get off stage, yeah, that's when it ends. Like, but before that, if you forget all the all the lyrics, you need to act according to that. So yeah, I think this has given me the tools to, and as I know, it's also helped me to build more contacts during like this past year or so. For example, in like Eddie Davis Sensei, like I've seen him, like I saw him in CLAC, in the Latin American Kendo Championship in 2019, but I'd never spoke to him until 2021. And now we do know each other. And some people that that I've seen or that I've like sort of met now, we've been able to even train together during all these sessions. And after like these years of like meeting someone for the first time, maybe, well, before the pandemic, and then you were able to train with them, you basically never see them again. And then you like invite them and you have a session, like a Café Geiko session, and that the bond just becomes more close. And yeah, like as friendships begin to form. And that's also one of the great things that I like about doing this, is how you meet more and new people who are different than you, but that are as motivated or even more, or in some cases more motivated than you. And like you can see, or they're as passionate as they can be towards Kendo. And you're like, wow. So you start meeting people like with the same goals or with similar ambitions. So it just like meeting those people also like pushes me forward to keep doing this, because I want to meet more people. I want to know from their experiences? What can I learn from their experiences? What can I bring out of this conversation that's going to help the Kendo community? So, yeah, and it's been great.
Yeah, no, this is wonderful. I love that what you're doing, it fits your style very well just by listening to you and hearing the reception. Like you're saying, a lot of new people are joining the sessions to ask questions. And I think that, yeah, the more surprised we are at what we're doing, the more I think it's not just for us, it's for anyone that's listening. If we're surprised by something these days after doing so many, it means that it's not very common out there, and it's all the more important that we keep up our work and be able to share these stories and have these interactions with more people. And we're really taking advantage of the COVID situation when everyone's at home, so we can do this, because I think that, yeah, as things open up, it's going to be harder, and we're going to have to find new ways of doing this kind of thing, because, like, for example, let's say Friday nights is when everyone goes to Keiko. So yeah, once you can go back into the dojo, you're not going to be at home doing an interview. And then same with me, like, people are going to have other things that they're worried about, other hobbies, traveling, and going back to practice. So we'll see where this goes when it comes open. I already have a plan, or I have a thought. We'll be starting to do live sessions in person. So, like, get the chance to travel, like do our usual practice in traveling, or have people come in and then just have like a sit down and be able to record that way. It'd be very fun to be able to do. But speaking of like limited time, I'm always like stuck on specific time schedules. So this has been a great conversation, and I hope we have another one where we can dive more into, I guess, each other's stories outside of just the podcast. But before we end this, do you have anything that you wanted to maybe touch on regarding the conversation so far, or anything else that we missed?
Well, I think it was like a great conversation overall. I really enjoyed it. Again, thank you very much for having me here. It's a real honor. And yeah, no, I think we gave like a good aspect. We showed how and helped understand how like the projects go behind the scenes. So it's really interesting, and to know that, and also like leaving the message out there that like if people can do this, they just need to find a way that works for them to do it, and then just start doing it. And you'll notice that you'll get more people that you think you're going to get. That's what I notice every time I do the registrations. And it's like, okay, sometimes I've had people like registrations of 60 people, but less than 10 people or 10 people are in the live interview. But then there are registrations of less than 20 people, and nearly everyone that registered, like out of, let's see, 20 people, 15 are in the live interview. So I'm like, okay, like percentage wise, it's not that bad. It's not bad. It's like I got technically more people than before. But if you find a way that works for you, if you're motivated, and if you then just go for it. I think that would be great. And there are, as well as there are many guests, and there's always a way of, in different life situations and life experiences. There are also like, since we are all so different, even though, if you look at the definition of a podcast or an interview, it's established, but every interview, every podcast, every situation, even though it has similar points, to put it in a way, it's unique. So if you do a project, it's your project. Like, nobody can do it the same way as you, even though they can follow the same procedures. It's not going to be the same. So just go, just do it. That would be great. And as well, I hope we can have another conversation. It would be great. Yeah, loved having the conversation.
Yeah, awesome. So that's a great closing point. I think that I'll probably see you at the next Budo Builders workshop?
Yeah,
Were you
yeah,
coming to that?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it was great. I met some great people, and I noticed that I was one of the there were, I think there wasn't a lot of people that did kendo. They were mostly from Iaido. I think they were from Kyudo. Well, yeah, all Budo. So I was like, wow, this is great. And for example, thinking outside the box, for example, like what's, like you said, an experience that's made you that you dislike or something. And then I'm like, well, I mean, I've never really sat down and think, okay, I have 5 minutes to think what's the most memorable thing in Kendo. I'm like, oh my God, what is it? What have I done? So it helps you to get out of your comfort zone, and I really enjoyed it. Like I had to think. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And not only be listening, but ready to like also always be analyzing what the other person's saying, for example, to give your point of view to them. Even as you said, like one of the, like in the first exercise that it was like in the end, you said, after that, you need to say something that you like, that you got out of what the people said of how that person is. So like you notice and you see like, oh my God, like even though he doesn't say, like, for example, this guy is strictly, like, he's extremely organized. Like he said, no, I had, and that when he sets his mind into something, he's gonna do it until he achieves it. So, and you're like, okay, this person, and that also helps towards the podcast, because you also need to see how the conversation is going to see what kind of turn it can get. So it was amazing. Yeah, I hope I can see you. I hope to see you in the Buddha Builders. I'm gonna be there for sure.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll see you then, and thank you so much for this conversation. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, and as well for you, Patrick. Thank you again for having me here, and yeah, hope we can see each other again soon. Bye.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode, because we have a lot more exciting conversations to share as we explore the world of the traditional Japanese martial arts. The Inside Look podcast is brought to you by our amazing patrons over at Patreon. If you are enjoying this work, please consider supporting me at patreon.com/Tokuskai Canada. To contribute to this effort, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at tokuskai.canada, or subscribe to our newsletter at subscribe@tokuskai.ca. Until next time, thanks for listening.